Thank you for listening to Shulchanaruchharav.com.
Filtering coffee on Shabbos. Many people enjoy drinking Turkish coffee or ground coffee, not instant coffee. And while some just drink it together with the ground coffee and don't separate or filter the ground coffee from their liquid, as it is commonly known as cowboy coffee or mud or Turkish coffee, and as many in the army do. On the other hand, many do desire to filter that black mud from their coffee beverage so they won't be drinking the particles of the coffee powder. And the question is asked, is this permitted on Shabbos to filter and separate between the liquid and the coffee powder? And this, of course, touches upon the question of the prohibition of Bayer, one of the Lamites Malachas that prohibits separating in prohibited ways two things from each other. And the question is asked, does the Bayer prohibition apply towards filtering coffee liquid from the coffee powder or not? So in truth, there exist several forms of how one can manage the filtering or separation of the coffee liquid from the coffee powder. And the answer to the above question is actually dependent on what type of separating method one desires to use. One form of separation is to simply pour the coffee liquid into a separate cup, having the coffee powder remain on bottom of the original cup. A second form of separation is by using a French press, which you put the coffee powder in, you put the liquid in, then you press it all down, and then you pour yourself a cup of coffee using the French press strainer to refrain the coffee powder from entering your drink. The third type is by using a coffee strainer, cloth or metal, in which you place it over your cup or bottle, and you place the ground coffee powder into it, and then you pour hot water through that strainer that contains the coffee, and it drips down into your cup. These are the three different types of separations, and each one has its own distinct discussion. But the general background of the laws behind all of these cases first requires the following introduction in the laws of Bayer. In the laws of Bayer, we find a very special law regarding filtering, which is not found in your classical Bayer case of separating an onion from a salad. And that is, when you want to filter a drink, a liquid, if the liquid is edible to majority of people in its current state, even with the solids that are inside of it, meaning that majority of people drink it the way it is and don't filter it, then it is permitted to be filtered on Shabbos. As rules the Mishnah, the Gemara in Shabbos 139b, in the Shulchanaruchharav 319, halacha 9, and the Alter Rebbe 319, halacha 13. However, there's one catch. The Bir Halacha and others, that even if majority of people are not particular and they'll drink it in its current state, if you are always particular to filter this sediment from the liquid, then you have a Bayer restriction against filtering it on Shabbos. Practically regarding ground coffee, while many people, as we stated, do drink it together with the mud and don't separate it, many people don't. And many people are particular to always filter it. And it's unclear who is in the majority. However, if you personally are particular to always filter it, then certainly the Bayer restrictions apply to you in filtering the coffee liquid from the coffee powder. This doesn't answer any of our questions, but it's just a general background because every case of filtering that we mentioned of the three cases has its own distinct law. Whether it's considered a forbidden form of filtering or a permitted form of filtering, irrelevant of the above discussion. To pour the coffee liquid into another cup, having the ground coffee remain on bottom of the original cup. Everyone agrees it is permitted to do so long as you leave a little bit of liquid floating on top of that coffee powder in the original cup. Meaning, don't pour out all the liquid, as explicitly rules the Alter Rebbe in 319 halacha 18, the Magen Avraham, and other poskim. However, if you want to pour it past that point and pour out all the liquid from the powder, then it's already under several issues of debate. And while many poskim hold it's mutter, especially if you plan on drinking the coffee right away, based on the ruling of the Alter Rebbe in his Siddur, it is best to abstain, even if you plan on drinking the liquid right away, and always leave a little bit of liquid floating on top of the coffee powder when you're pouring to another cup. Nonetheless, those who are lenient certainly have upon whom to rely, especially if they plan on drinking right away, and they are not particular to always filter it. Case 2. You're using a French press. Here it's already a little trickier. You have a strainer on the bottom. You're not just pouring from one cup to another. There's a strainer. In the laws of Beira, it's forbidden to strain using a strainer. It's forbidden to do Beira using a vessel. So here too, it's permitted according to everyone to pour out the liquid coffee from this French press to the point where you leave a little bit of liquid floating on top of the filter of the French press. As you haven't yet separated liquid from solid, but you separate liquid from liquid, which is no problem, not Beira. The question comes up, can you separate even past that point? Can you spill out all the coffee liquid, even the liquid below the area of the strainer of the French press? Here we enter into a major dispute amongst the poskim, which mainly discussed it regarding tea, but so too regarding coffee. There's no difference. Many poskim forbid doing so, simply stating you're doing Beira with a vessel. It's forbidden. And coffee is not edible by majority of people. So it does retain the Beira restrictions. Other poskim, however, justify using a French press even to pour all the liquid out due to various justifications, one of them being the majority of people are not particular against drinking the actual coffee powder. And practically here too, while those who are lenient have upon whom to rely, the best thing is to be stringent and leave a little bit of coffee liquid floating above your strainer and avoid Beira according to all opinions. This especially applies if you're always particular to filter your coffee powder from your coffee beverage, that you should follow this, as then you lose one of the main reasons of allowance that the allowing poskim base their opinion on. The last but not least case, using a coffee strainer, as we said, placing ground coffee into the strainer and then pouring the hot water from a klisheni, obviously, otherwise you have a cooking problem, as we discussed in our previous halacha on this topic. Pouring it through the strainer, having it go right through the ground coffee and strainer into your cup, and as a result you receive a cup of hot coffee without any coffee powder inside it. So many people erroneously think that this is the for sure problematic. And in truth, according to halacha, this is permitted according to everyone. Irrelevant of what you hold, coffee is drank by majority of people with the powder. It's not drunk. There is no isser of Beira or filtering when the liquid and solid were never mixed together when you poured it through the filter. It only became mixed inside the filter. I put the solid in the filter and then pour the water in. In such a case, we have a clear ruling in the Mishnah in Masechah Shabbos 139b, recorded in Shulchanaruchharav 319.9 and the Alter Rebbe 319.12, that one might pour water through dregs that are sitting in a filter, and the same thing applies here, and so conclude many of the malaktim that therefore it is permitted to do so on Shabbos. This applies even if the water will take some time to pass through the strainer, and even if the strainer is actually sitting inside of your cup, so it's going to be mixed in the water level of the liquid. Nonetheless, one must be careful of the following. One should not mix or shake the strainer to get out as much liquid as possible from it, and also when one removes the strainer from the cup, if it's sitting inside the liquid, you should use a spoon in order so it doesn't catch any of the falling drops that come when you lift it out of the cup. All this again is referring to pouring the liquid through the strainer that has the coffee inside the strainer. If, however, you already made the Turkish coffee and now you want to pour the whole thing through the strainer to strain out the black coffee that was in your cup, that is 100% forbidden if we hold that coffee is not edible by majority of people in this state, and therefore this certainly is to be avoided. So to summarize, to pour your coffee liquid from one cup to another and leave the coffee powder on bottom is permitted according to all, so long as you leave a little bit of liquid on top of the coffee powder. So too if you have a French press, same thing, leave a little bit of coffee liquid on top of the coffee powder. Those who are lenient, once again, have upon whom to rely, so long as they do it to drink right away. To pour the coffee from your cup into a strainer to strain the black coffee is forbidden according to most approaches, as coffee is not edible to majority of people, and especially if you're particular, it's forbidden. But to put the coffee powder in a strainer and then pour onto it from a klisheni is permitted to be done.
Thank you for listening to Shulchanaruchharav.com. Our free services of making Torah knowledge available to the public depends on donors like you. Please help us continue our work through making even a small contribution at Shulchanaruchharav.com under the Daily Halacha Dedication section or in the subscription page. Also, check out our online courses and many sefarim available for purchase that will both enhance your Torah knowledge and help support our work.